Hey guys, Blake here with another video, and usually I don't do unboxings, but today I'm really excited. This is a species that's kind of similar to one that I've kept before, but one that I'm really excited about, and I really hope they're perfectly fine. So I've got a box here of some inhabitants for a brand new tank. Let's jump straight into the video. So this is a bit different to what I've been doing lately, but I did used to do quite a few fish unboxings and tank setups and things like that, so it is pretty fun to be going back to the old ways, but I don't think this will be the norm anyway. It's just because I think that this species is something really special and something that I'm really excited to play with, and I think that a lot of you will be excited as well. So I'll make sure that they're not going to show my personal details. I'll just take the top lid off, I guess. These are ordered from All Fish to You. I think my code still works at All Fish to You to get 10% off using Blake 10, I think, which the link will be in the description below. But there's 6 little creatures in here. Oh, one of them's alive. At least one's alive. Can you see it? Can you see it? I'm so excited about this. They're so cool. They're so cool. I'm really excited. Don't know how many more times I'll say really excited, but what we have here, oh my god, that one's huge. Check it out. He's massive. Look at he's got a massive red claw. This is the coolest day ever. So these guys are Darwin Freshwater Crabs, and they're fully freshwater. They only get to about 6, oh my, it's a beast. They only get to about 6 centimeters across. Really new into the hobby, just the last few years or so. Oh my gosh, I love this. I'm so excited. I think they're so creepy and weird and awesome, and they're way bigger than I thought they would be as well. We might have to upgrade their tank pretty quickly. Yeah, so Darwin Freshwater Crabs, what do I know about them? The carapace, or the body, is about 6 centimeters across. You can tell males or females underneath. It's the same with most crabs. I'll put a diagram on the screen now so you can have a look, but let's take a little bit of a look underneath. This is awesome. Some days, you know, you just sort of realize why you fell in love with the hobby. Other days is a bit more difficult, but today is not one of those days. So I'm guessing these fellas here with the huge red claws, they're definitely going to be the males. Now they may get a little bit territorial, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. But I can always set up tanks with pairs, or I'm going to try all 6 together for a start. But we've got 6 living, successfully arrived Darwin Freshwater Crabs. I'm going to get these guys into their tank, and I'll show you a bit of a clip of me setting up the tank whilst I do that. I'm not sure how it's going to work as I film this, so whatever you see next is whatever you're going to see next. Alrighty guys, so while our new additions get settled into the place, let's talk about the tank that I set up for them a couple of weeks ago. Now this here is the Mr. Aqua 90 centimeter bookshelf tank, 90 centimeters in length, I think by about 26 centimeters deep and 26 centimeters tall, or around about that. So it's got a narrow and short profile, but I thought that would be good for these guys because then they can set up horizontal territories, stay away from each other in that way, but they're not really going to need too much height. I wish there was a little bit more depth, but what can you do? You can't win them all. So to set up this tank, first of all, I just cleared this bench here behind me and placed the tank down. And on the back, I put an opaque film. Now I really like opaque films for aquariums because I feel like, especially if you put a black background on a tank like this, then it would just be too overbearing. It would seem very small. Whereas the opaque background, it sort of extends the background, but then you also don't see the clutter, you don't see the cables and all those sort of things. And after I'd selected the right tank and found a place for it, it's of course time to scape it out. Now I know that these crabs here, they're going to enjoy about 50% of their time in water and 50% of their time on land. So I set about designing the scape that way. I knew I'd have a huge embankment of sand leading up to sort of a beachy area. So knowing that I didn't want to waste all that sand, I had a couple of media bags full of clay beads that I used when I was trying to do some hydroponic stuff in ponds. But I thought it'd be a great way to just sort of fill out this majority of what you can see over this side of the aquarium. So I placed those in there first and then started to fill up around the front and the shallow area with sand. I didn't fill up the whole thing with sand because I also wanted to put some plants in there. As you guys know, I always like to try and get some plants in aquariums where I can, so I thought it would be cool to have a sort of a bit of a rainforesty area as well at the rear. So gradually filling the front with sand and the back with aquasoil. I just filled it up until it got to a level that I was happy with, and I think that the height that it's at now, it gives enough height for some plants to grow without sort of taking over the whole thing, and also it's high enough that you still have a fair bit of water in the aquarium. Now, a couple of things. I'm using a new sand in this one. I'm using actually coarse sand from Bunnings. So if this turns out to be as good as I think it is, then I'll be a very, very happy camper, because sand is one of those things that I've always sort of struggled to find the right thing. I've used unicorn sand from Clark Rower before, but I find that it has a bit of a grey, pinky sort of colour that I'm not that keen on. Whereas this stuff here took a little bit of washing, but I like the texture of it. It's very natural, very beachy, and I think it's really great. The aquasoil is just some used master soil from when I packed down some previous aquariums. I just keep it in some buckets and then reuse it where I can. So we've just got some reused aquasoil there, and of course that comes with it a bunch of snails. So we're getting the life set up straight away. In terms of plants, I started to then place some cryptocorynes. I got some baby tears. I got a rabbit's fern as well, and Fittonia, I think, is the other terrestrial plant there. If you go for sort of terrarium plants, you'll be a winner in this kind of area because it's going to stay very humid in there. So you want something that's going to handle that sort of environment. The other thing as well that I did mix in with the sand, knowing that I was going to put crabs in this aquarium, is a bunch of Calgrit. Calgrit is a calcium supplement that a lot of people feed to poultry so that they can have some nice healthy eggs and shiny beaks and all those sort of things. But essentially what it is crushed calcium. So I mixed a little bit of that in with all of the substrate as well to help promote some healthy molts and strong shells for the crabs. Especially keeping 6 crabs in a close proximity is always a bit of a risk. There is bound to be a little bit of fighting amongst males and things like that. So you want some really strong presence of calcium in there so that they can regrow any claws or repair any damage that they might sustain. If anything's too crazy, they'll of course separate them, and we'll play it by ear. In terms of hardscape, I put a bunch of ceria stone in there, and I thought it would be fun to have some flat areas where they can sort of be close to the water and feel safe, but have plenty of area to come up and out of the water, sort of making use of that space there where above the water, where there's not going to be any plants, it's kind of a bit of a dead space. So I figured if we created a bit of a basking rock area, that would be a good use of that space there. I just accented around the plants with some spare cholla wood. Thought, it'll look perfectly in place there, and it sort of borders the difference between the aquasoil area and the sand area. So I was pretty happy with that, and overall it was a pretty simple scape that came together relatively quickly. To filter this area, I've just got a simple Kmart filter there, mainly because I have a lot of Kmart aquariums, so I had about 10 of them around here. So I was like, well, if I can finally use one, that'd be a great thing. I didn't want to use a sponge filter in this case, mainly because I thought it would take up a lot of room. I thought the crabs might actually pinch at it and wreck it. So here, it's just easier to connect up a power filter for me, and that's how it went together. The light, again, is the light that I already had on hand. That is the Petworks plant light, which overall I feel like it's an okay light. It'll do a good job for the simple plants that I've got in here. Another important consideration with crabs is that they do like to climb, and they can be escape artists. So I custom made a tight-fitting lid out of twin wall or core flute, which I got from Bunnings as well. I siliconed up the edges as well, just to make sure no food particles would get in there and mess it all up. And also it made the edges a bit more tight fitting as well. as we move forward, I'm going to weigh it down by just sitting some heavy objects on top of it, but hopefully it will conform to the space really well over time and I won't need to do that. And that's pretty much how I went about setting up this aquarium. So I wanted to make sure that there was equal portions above and below the water. I of course need a filter, and I wanted to make sure there was plenty of calcium available for those healthy shells. Outside of that, there wasn't any real requirements for the crabs. They are freshwater crabs, so I didn't need to add any salt or create brackish water or anything like that. With the plants, they might shred some up and they might leave them alone, so I'm just going to play it by ear with them, but we might have to replace some of them as time goes on. But overall, I think it came together pretty simple, pretty easy. I'm excited to play with a few different things. So there you go, guys. That is my new crab aquarium. Although there wasn't really much point to this video other than just my excitement for getting crabs, I do think it's important sometimes to just sit back and enjoy the hobby for what it is. So I'm glad that I shared that experience with you guys there. If you did like this video, it always helps me to smash like, hit subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And I'd recommend, if there's that thing that you've really wanted for a long period of time, just go and get it, because it'll remind you of those initial days in the fish room, in the hobby, and bring back your love for it. I've been sitting here ever since I've unboxed them for the last sort of 4 hours just watching them be crabs, and it's been an awesome experience. So I'll be staring at this aquarium for a few more hours, but I'll leave you to it. Take it easy. Cheers.